Economic development was also the focus of the Prime Minister today in Switzerland. He held a series of meetings trying to drum up international investment in Canada. So how did it go? Anna Thibodeau reports.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau started Davos Day 2, meeting with the CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra. But the Minister of Economic Development says there was no firm commitment from GM about continuing to make vehicles out of its Oshawa, Ontario plant beyond next year.
No, at this stage, when it came to Oshawa, they're still determining the future of that.
That plant currently employs 2,000 people, and 1,000 were let go last year when the company moved the production of its Merrill to Michigan. So here in Davos, no firm commitment from GM, and no firm commitment out of all of the other meetings, forums, lunches, and dinners attended by the PM and his 5 cabinet ministers.
As you know, these decisions by companies are not made on the spot. What they're looking for is a government that's willing to work with them, to partner with them, and we made it very clear that Canada's open for business, that we're a willing partner, and that as they plan production, as they plan their business plan for the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, that we're part of that business.
So the Canadian delegation presses on.
Better collaboration and cooperation between India and Canada.
Meeting after meeting.
Looking to continue to facilitate further investment.
Don't expect any deals to be inked here in Davos. But if business leaders like what they're seeing and hearing from Trudeau and his ministers, and they want to invest, it could still be months or even years before it pays off. Peter.
All right, Anna, thanks very much. Coming up, tiny trouble, the alarming threat of Zika virus, and when it should play into your travel plans to head south. And guess who's still ahead? That's right, Andrew, Chantel, and Althea Raj joins us this week. And yes, Rex will be here too. The CBC News Fifth Estate investigation has uncovered startling information about some doctors practicing in Canada today. Over the past 15 years, more than 800 physicians have been disciplined, 250 for inappropriate behavior with patients, including inappropriate comments, relationships, even criminal sexual assaults. But less than a third of those doctors lost their license. About half see patients to this day. Many of us don't know our doctor's disciplinary history, especially if it's from another country. Bob McEwen now with the story of one doctor who can't practice in the U.S. anymore, but he does practice here.
This house in West Bloomfield, Michigan, is the home of Dr. Ravi Shanava. Every morning he gets behind the wheel of his black SUV and heads towards the border. Our cameras recorded him taking the tunnel to Ontario, then to this clinic in Windsor where he practices psychiatry. His Canadian patients may know he commutes to work from the U.S., but it's likely they don't know why. It goes back to 2006, when Shanava, a dual citizen, was licensed to practice medicine in both the U.S. and Canada. Then, trouble. An official complaint against him by Michigan's Board of Community Health, citing allegations of long-term alcohol abuse. Shanava didn't take the mandated treatment. He surrendered his license, and Michigan medical authorities banned him from practicing anywhere in the U.S. In 2010, Shanava pled guilty to drunk driving in Michigan after rear-ending another car at a traffic light, hitting it twice. When he was arrested at a nearby massage spa, the police report described him as falling down drunk. But evidently none of it has affected Shanava's ability to practice medicine in Canada. Since suspended in the U.S., he's continued to see patients here for years. The Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons super-supplies the province's doctors. But on the college's website, there is nothing to warn Canadians that American authorities deemed Shanava a potential danger to patients a decade ago. What's more, in the past year, 6 women, former patients, have gone to the Windsor police accusing the psychiatrist of sexually abusing men during treatment. Dr. Shanava denies all the allegations. Those criminal charges are now posted on the Ontario College website. But as his case moves forward, Ravi Shanava is still allowed to practice medicine in Canada, even to see female patients in the presence of a chaperone. Psychiatrist Gail Robbins, an expert on professional conduct in medicine, says protecting the public demands more than that from the call.
Isn't it incredible? If this has not been tried yet, is this not enough to at least suspend his license until an investigation can be held?
Dr. Trevor, recently we found Ravi Shinava outside his clinic in Windsor, about to head home to the U.S. after work.
No, you're a panic. Your license revoked in the U.S. every day.
You drive a car to an order in the break and you come to talk to Canada. How could that be? And the doctor's not the only one who wouldn't talk. The College of Physicians and Surgeons declined our request for an on-camera interview. But when specifically asked, they would not say when they learned of the suspension of Shinava's U.S. medical license, or why they didn't tell Canadians. All they would say is that an ongoing investigation is underway. Bob McKeon, CBC News, Toronto.
And you can see the full story tomorrow night on CBC television. That's at 9 o'clock, 9:30 in Newfoundland. A small step was taken today towards a national pharmacare plan. It happened at a meeting of the country's health ministers in Vancouver. And our Catherine Cullen was there. Catherine, what progress was actually made?
Well, Peter, the federal government has said that it's going to join in and bulk purchase medications with provinces, which should drive down some prices. But some provinces want more. Ontario, for instance, has pointed out that Canada is the only industrialized country that has universal health care, but doesn't have universal drug coverage. Now, the federal government certainly hasn't come out and endorsed the idea of pharmacare. It has, though, today said that it will study the idea with some provinces and territories. So I asked the federal health minister, is she indeed opening the door to pharmacare?
We know from various studies that are done that 10 or 20% of Canadians don't actually fill their prescriptions because they can't afford them. And that doesn't make any sense at all. So philosophically, the concept of pharmacare is an important one to address.
Catherine, there were some other big issues on the table, like the legalization of marijuana and physician-assisted dying. What happened on those?
Here they talked about both, but there were no decisions made. The provinces want to know what the federal government is planning as it races to write a new law to cover physician-assisted dying by the June deadline that's been set by the Supreme Court. They have questions like what the age of consent might be, but right now, with that issue and with the question of the legalization of marijuana, the federal government has groups studying the issue and is waiting for advice before proceeding.
It'll smell much better.
Thank you. Outrage is growing over the contaminated water crisis in the city of Flint. Lead is poisoning the water, and politicians are accused of mishandling the problem. Flint is about 100 kilometers from the Canadian border. 40% of the people live below the poverty line. More than half are blind. Some residents and activists say that's why the problem was ignored. Stephen D'Souza is in Flint tonight. Stephen.
Peter, the people in Flint are upset. They feel abandoned by every level of government, but most of all, they just want to know where they'll get their next fix of water.
Rob. Yeah. Leave that window closed.
Well, she's smoking, and she's opening her door.
You leave your closed.
Did you put a fan in the bathroom?
Not yet.
No. Put a fan in the bathroom so I can turn it on and get the air moving. It's all coming in my room.
I mean, the water's not circulating right now in the heating system.
And I'm here, and I'm watching it. If I'm not cold, then the air is not a problem.
Leave it closed.
Okay. Well, I'm going to
leave it closed.
I'm going to make a.
Find another place.
I'm going to make a complaint. That's all.
You go right ahead.
Now get the heat going, and get that fan going. Simple as that?
Yeah. Simple as that. Why is it that all the little guys have little attitudes? Hey.
You've been sitting on your ass and in the bed too long.
Really?
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Anytime you want to see me outside, come on out.
I don't need to fight with people that just talk a lot.
Yeah, like little guys.
Not a problem.
Yeah. You need the fucking window closed.
Fucking window?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a complaint tomorrow.
You go ahead.
We got your back, Richard.
Thank you.
Immediately, families weren't notified
Shut down.
That bitch that has a back. Whoa.
Now there's a state of emergency.
Too many big nipples on that thing.
National Guard is going door to door, handing out cases of water and filters. The governor has apologized and has been summoned to Washington to testify before a congressional committee next month.
People in Flint cannot drink apologies. People in Flint can't drink arguments or name calling or finger pointing. We have to get the infrastructure fixed, and that's what we're going to do.
For some residents, it's not about the rain. They just want to trust their taps again.
It's a problem. It ain't hard to do.
Today, President Obama announced $80 million in federal emergency funding for Flint. But it's well short of the $1.5 billion that the mayor estimates they'll need to fix the problem. Peter.
All right, Stephen, thank you. More than 50 million Americans are bracing for what's expected to be a paralyzing winter storm that will hit tomorrow.
We're preparing for a blizzard. You know, I've lived in D.C. most of my life, and I don't know that I have lived through a forecast like this.
Up to 60 centimeters of snow is forecast in Washington, D.C., which is expected to be hardest hit. States of emergency have already been called in North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and the District of Columbia. The storm will reach Boston and New York City on Saturday. Winter gear and food are flying off store shelves. City crews are making preparations. The storm isn't expected to reach Canada. And speaking of a gathering storm, at issue in Rex here for the first time in 2016. That is history.